All right, so what are some other ways you might see this? So one of the ways is using scale drawings and models to solve problems. So scale is the ratio of any length in a scale drawing or scale model to correspond to the corresponding actual length. A drawing that uses a scale to represent an object as smaller or larger than the original object is a scale drawing. Now that's kind of important because you don't have to necessarily have it be small. Like a map takes a whole big area and makes it small, but there are some benefits to taking small things and making them bigger. So let's see what we got here. We got a three-dimensional model that uses a scale to represent an object as smaller or larger than the actual object is called the scale model. So let's take a look at these questions we've got. It says use the map to answer the following questions. The actual distance from Chicago to Evanston, that's Evanston, Illinois, home of Northwestern University, is 11.25 miles, or 11 and 25 hundredths miles. So what is the distance on the map? So let's write a couple, in this case, a couple of ratios first. Our first ratio, we got map to actual. So on the map, we know that 1 inch is 18 miles. That's one ratio. And now we know the actual distance. So that's going to be in miles also. The actual distance is 11.25 miles. But what we don't know is on the map how far it is. So we're going to call that distance D. Once again, we could do a little bit of cross multiplication here, or just since you're dividing dividing D by 11.25 miles, you can multiply both sides by 11.25. You get 11.25 miles, or just in this case times 1. Our miles are going to cancel. I'll show you that in a minute too. Divided by 18 is D. And we got 11.25 divided by 18. We already know from this over here that it's going to be 0.625, or 625 thousandths of an inch, because that is our unit. So units are going to be really, really, really important in this target. So just like they always are for many targets. Now we've got this. We've got the actual distance between North Chicago and Waukegan is 4 miles. What is this distance on the map? Round to the nearest tenth. So let's once again write the scale as a fraction. We've got 1 inch is every 18 miles. And so let's figure out this distance here. Again, we are given the actual distance, and actual we've been putting on bottom. So let's do this again. 1 inch, 18 miles. That's our scale factor here. And we don't know the distance, but we know the actual distance is 4 miles. 4 miles. Let's try that again. 4 miles. We don't know the actual distance on the map. That's what I was trying to say. So D divided by 4 equals 1 divided by 18. I can multiply both sides by 4. I get 4 over 18. And if I do that, you know that I like fractions, but in some cases it's just better to use decimals. And this is going to be one of those times. It's an approximately. That's that. See that wavy one right there? That wavy equal sign? That means approximately. We're going to call that approximately 0.22 or 0.22 inches. So the distance on the map is about 0.22 inches. Now, using the same logic that we just did there, go ahead, try your turn. That number 3 down here at the bottom. So you pause it right now. See what you can do, and then come back. Okay, now that you paused it, you've given it a try on your own. Let's go ahead and talk through it together. It says a scale model of the human heart is 196 inches long. The scale is 32 to 1. How many inches long is the actual heart? Round your answer to the nearest whole number. So now we got a little more information to work with. Now, a heart is not 196 inches long. It's not 196 inches long. We know the scale factor is 32 to 1. So the scale factor is 32 to 1. So we've set up this scale as a fraction. We know that the scale, remember this is scale on top and actual on bottom. What is the scale model of the heart? Well, it's 196 inches. Where the actual length of the heart, we don't know. Let's call this X. So in here, we've set up our ratio we've set up a proportion using two ratios. So let's take a look. Let's do some cross multiplication here to get this thing going. We've got, if we do this here, we've got 32x equals 1 times 196. And to solve, so that 1 times 196, this is just 196, right? So 32x equals 196. And this indicates that we were doing multiplication. So the inverse operation of multiplication is division. We do it to both sides. And x is approximately, we're rounding to our whole numbers here. So 196 divided by 32, type that in. That gives us, it's 6.125, but rounding to the nearest whole number would be approximately 6 inches. All right. So now that you guys have seen that, what I want you guys to do is go ahead and take a little bit more homework. So if you go ahead and flip to page 21, you can go ahead and work on 5, 6, 7, and then on page 22 you can do 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12. The rest of them we'll talk about in the next video.